Hello everyone, how you guys doing? It's your girl Karaleise, and today we're going to be talking about working on implementation projects. These are projects where there is no software built. You're not building anything new. You're basically taking from one software that already works and implementing it with another software so that you can have them both talk to each other. So it's an implementation, it's a configuration project. How do you, as a business analyst, work on those kinds of projects? That's what we're talking about today. Don't go anywhere. So implementation projects, they're not that much different from regular software development projects. It's just that the focus is different, right? You're not worried about necessarily, UI designs because they already have their designs. You're not worried about necessarily the functionality, but it also depends on where you are. If you are at the beginning where you haven't yet chosen your vendor, then I have a video out there about how to choose a software vendor. Go watch it out. It's an older video, but it still has very good, useful information to help you. So part of your role as a BA could be to help the team to make the right choice as to which software to choose for this implementation that you're trying to do. So if your team has decided that they want to buy a tool as opposed to build the tool, then if you're at the beginning of the project, part of the ways that you can be valuable is to help them to evaluate this tool. In order to do that, you need to make sure you're clear on what the requirements are. So what do we need this tool to do? Is it replacing an existing tool? What did the existing tool do? And so one of the artifacts that you'll be needing to create is your list of features and functionalities that you already have and the features and functionalities that you want to also have in the new tool if you're trying to improve what you already have. So creating this list, it's not a requirements document per se. It's more like a checklist. These are the things that we are able to do with this tool or what we already have, and these are the things we want to add to that. So you have a checklist to evaluate your vendors against. Can it do this functionality? Can it do that functionality? Can it do this? Can it do that? Right? So when you're sending out your RFI, your request for information from them, you can say, these are the things. Are you able to deliver these things? And typically, when you're helping to choose a vendor, you have your top tier things. Like if the vendor can't do these top things, then it won't even make the cut, right? So you kind of have to sit and prioritize with your team, your project management team, whoever else is responsible for making the decision on which tool to choose. You have to sit with them and prioritize, okay, what are the things that we must have? These are things where if they can't meet these things, we won't want to even engage them any further. So you make that list up so that you can have that to evaluate against. And the way you help in this kind of project also is you're keeping up with what these things are with that checklist I told you about, but also in the demo, when the team comes in to demo their product to your team, you can start asking questions. Okay, does it do this? Oh, show me how you actually accomplish this. Because sometimes they can check the box and say, yes, they have this feature. But when you actually see it being demoed, it's different from what you expected. It's different from what you thought it would do. It's missing things. It's missing follow-up. It's missing the data that you want to see. So things like that is very important for you to know so you can help with that evaluation process. So if you are there at the beginning to choose the tool, then that's how you add value on implementation projects. The other way that you add value as a BA on implementation projects or configuration projects is being able to do a gap analysis. So the gap analysis would be another very useful artifact, which is saying today, in our current system, this is what we do. And let's say you've bought the new tool. In this tool, these are the things that it does in addition to what we already have as additional things. So now you can say, well, here's the difference, right? Here are the features that we need to integrate. Here are the additional features we need to add or configure, and so on and so forth. So you need to be able to clearly see in some kind of artifact what we have from our existing system and what we have from our new system, so that we can see where the gaps are and figure out which thing should we prioritize configuring and how does that affect downstream processes, etc. Okay, so the gap analysis is a great document that will be very useful when you're doing configuration projects. The other document that will be very helpful also that you can create, you can use to add value to the team as a BA on a configuration or implementation project is the data mapping. So being able to say this field in this system should pull from this field in this other system is a great way to show the mapping between the two. So when you're migrating, you'll know that this field pushes here, this field receives the value from here, and everything is mapped. So source and destination, right? So you want to be able to show that so that the team that's doing the implementation knows where to put what. That's a very, very technical conversation. It's a very, very detailed discussion you'll need to have with your technical resources. It needs to be had. And you as a BA will be responsible for creating that artifact that shows the mapping. Now, in addition to that mapping sheet, which I like to do in Excel or an Excel-like sheet like Smart Sheets or something like that, in addition to that, I also like to create the user stories to have this mapping. So you create the mapping sheet, and then you have a user story that says, map fields from ABC system to XYZ system. And you can attach the mapping sheet in the story, but it's something that you write to say, the data has to pass from this source to this, destination field. And that's a great way for you to have an artifact to show the totality of what needs to be mapped, but be able to create user stories for them to break it down so they can have sizable chunks to work on and then incrementally be able to finish this configuration. So those, I think, are some of the documentation that you need. Of course, you need to test it. So you need to write your test cases to make sure, everything that's supposed to work this way is working this way. And then you have your regular release documentation, such as your release notes, your user manual, your training manual, and all of those things that we do for getting a release out. So I want to say the main difference between a software development project and a configuration or implementation project is just that you're not building new features. It's already there. You don't have to write stories to build new features. You don't have to do as much elicitation in terms of features that is needed. You just elicit in terms of what data do we need and what things should we include in our configuration of this system. So it's a lot less back and forth in terms of whether they'll accept the feature that you're building, but more in terms of, do we want to turn on this feature or do we want to turn it off, right? That's literally the majority of it. And if we turn it on, are there other things we need to turn on as well? Do we need to put a default value here? Like all of these little parameters that comes with systems that are already pre-built, that are kind of out of the box, and being able to help the organization be ready for this change is the main way that you add value on an implementation project. The user stories that you write on these projects tend to be more back-end. So it's data mapping stories, API calls, configuration stories for the admin to go turn things on and turn things off, default values that you'll have for certain fields. That's the kind of things that you typically have. Because the UI is there, the functionality is already there, it works the way it's supposed to work. And then you spend a lot of time testing it, testing, making sure that the data you enter upstream makes it all the way downstream where it's supposed to go and is showing up where it's supposed to show up. So it's a lot of testing, a lot of data mapping, gap analysis document, helping with the RFPs and RFIs, and just being able to help guide the team as to how to configure this best to meet the business requirements. That's the major difference, I think, when you're working on implementation projects versus software development projects. So there you have it, guys. There you have my take on implementation and configuration projects. Don't forget that I have my insightful live event every month. So go check out my events calendar to see what topic I'll be covering. This is an event where you just join the meeting and we see how we do things in the real world. So come join my insightful event. Check my events calendar on karaleise.com to see when I'm hosting my next event. And on these events, we'll talk about case studies. We talk about real world projects. You'll watch me go through a project, write in the user stories, write in the requirements, figuring out what's the approach, where do we start, how do we continue, where do we go next, what's the best way to present this. We talk about so many interesting things. You learn so much, practical things, real world things, and you get to ask questions. The best part of it is that it's interactive. You're not just watching a course where somebody's telling you what's going on, but you're there with me live, and you get to ask questions and you leave with clarity. And at the end of the insightful session, I give you the access to the recording. And in most cases, you get access to the documentation that we share as well. So you have some takeaway to go with you. So come and join me. Go look at karaleise.com. And I also have a monthly Global BA stand-up. So just go register on karaleise.com and join that free Global BA stand-up. And then once a month, join the live, insightful case study discussion training event, right? We're going to get it together this year. We're getting it together. We're learning a lot. I'm going to be helping you a lot, because when I help you, I feel good and I get blessings and I love it. And I love to see you come up, right? I want to bring you up. Come on, let's go. We can do it. Okay, let me help you on the come up so you can be a very highly professional business analyst as well. All right, so thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.